Okay, friends, compassion ambassadors, and voices of love. I'm back with my friend Veronica. Hopefully, you've been sort of following along and learning about the Portacle and the Vibrasound transducer. So now I want to go a little bit deeper and get a little more into the juicy stuff that I love so much. Can you explain the brain autonoma? Am I saying it correctly?
Well, Don's Southern and he calls it automata.
Automata.
I've heard it both ways.
Don is in Don Estes, who is
the inventor of the Portacle and the Vibrasound, which is the work that I offer.
Right, and he is a scientist, correct?
He is a chemist, a biologist, and a neuroscientist.
Okay, so it's not like he's just made this up.
Right.
And how long has this taken him, this invention?
Well, he was the guy in Atlanta, Georgia, that when all those great bands were coming through back in the 70s, he was the guy sitting on the speaker. Mm-hmm. And one night he was sitting on the speaker and he's like, wait a minute, we weren't made to just listen to music. Mm. We were made to feel it in every cell of our being.
I've had those moments.
Yes.
I've hidden inside of a couple speakers at a couple of, dance parties.
And he was a chemist and a biologist, but he wanted to study neuroscience so that he would know which parts of the brain to suppress and which parts to trigger so that we could have consciousness expansion.
Oh, okay.
And that's what music actually does for us, and all of us know that because of when our favorite song comes on, it shifts your entire state of being.
Right.
So,
which this experience shifts your entire state of being, and it's lasting. It's lasting. So you showed us some of the software. Then you showed us the Vibrasound bed and the transducers and the glasses, which don't they go they're kind of go about this far off of your eyes, right? Mm-hmm. So there's that much. And the dolphin and the waterbed, and you can see behind us, this is the screen that you're looking at when you're actually receiving a session, and it's showing you your toroidal field, which we spoke about in our first video.
Yes, this is the toroidal energy field. It's unfolded into a Cartesian graph. So X represents the cosine wave, which we haven't gotten into yet. Mm-hmm. Y represents the sine wave. We're actually plotting on those two plot points. I need to sneeze.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, now that I said it, I guess it went away. Okay. So the Portacle, as I mentioned, it can be used as a meditation tool. If you can imagine just looking at this while you're speaking a mantra or saying a new thought pattern that you really want to bring in, or some kind of intention or affirmation. So it's a meditation tool. It's a self-reflection tool because of the patterns that come up while you're working with it. And then it's an intention manifestation tool. And it gives neurofeedback to the brain in 3 ways. Visually, when you watch your screen, you're putting in your new thought pattern and it's feeding that back into your brain.
Visually as well as auditorily. And auditorily, it's sped up and looping, and that's how it reaches the brain autonoma, or as Dawn says, automata, right? Whatever it's called, it gets it in there.
Yes.
Right?
And there's a third way this is the way that it really sets those automata going, and that's called binaural phasing. So most of us know what binaural beats are, especially if we've ever had trouble sleeping. Binaural beats was discovered in the 70s by a psychiatrist in San Francisco, and if you ever put 20 hertz in one ear and 28 hertz in the other, your brain wants to resolve the difference between the two, and your brain will go into an 8 hertz state, and that relaxes you, and it generally is part of that descent into sleep. So now the market is flooded with Delta sleep CDs because your aim is to get into a Delta state. Don decided to use a person's own sine and cosine waves. And so when you're speaking into the microphone, that signal is going into the computer, the software program. We're splitting your sine from your cosine. And then we're sending the sine signal to one ear for one part of the brain, the cosine to the other for the other part of the brain. And just like with hertz, when it realizes this person is saying this, but this person is really this, your brain wants to resolve the difference between the two.
Right.
And that's why I love the Portacle so much. It is natural. We're not adding anything to you. Mm-hmm. We're not programming you. We are giving you tools with which to program yourself, basically. Right. And how it works for me is it wakes up my brain. Mm-hmm. So I may drive the same way to work every day. And I may pass the same sign every day on the way and never notice it. Mm-hmm. After I put something into the Portacle and I have realized I want to make this change in my life, I'll be driving the same way and I'll look over and I'll see that sign and I'm like,
it was always there.
It was always there.
Always there.
Why didn't I realize that that was for me?
Right.
You know?
Well, that actually, that's where I want to get nitty gritty about the words that we're using, because I feel like for years in the personal development sort of arena, it's been all about manifesting and getting what you want. Mm-hmm. Manifest, manifest, manifest. And I've been on this really interesting journey with this whole law of attraction manifestation thing. I've been really curious about it for like 20 years, and it's just always felt a little bit, something wasn't right. And especially like having health issues and then hearing like, well, if you're the right vibration, you will have no health issues, and it just kind of kept being like, something's not clicking here. Well, something really did click and is clicking now that I've had this experience, because for the first time I had the experience on a cellular level. Like, I don't even really know how to describe it other than to say I literally felt as though I was being tuned from the inside out, and that my system for the first time maybe ever was able to find harmonic alignment with resonance. Not like with the resonance of my own personal energy versus like, I'm not trying to get something. I'm not trying to resonate with something. I'm just, it's like a harmonic bath that then clears. It's just like a clear, it's almost like those heart clear things you would see on ER or something. It's like clear, and all the dissonance went out. And then it was just like, oh my God, like truly experiencing myself as a resonant harmonic channel for information, right?
And also, when you feel that harmonic resonance, you're in your parasympathetic nervous system.
Right.
And that's where your body can heal itself. Mm-hmm. What we focus on is, the whole medical complex is about finding out what's wrong.
Right.
And the body is it's mechanical. Mm-hmm. We know the body is energetic. Mm-hmm. We want to support you in finding what's right for you and enhancing that. Mm-hmm. And Don says that we're each like a black hole, and we draw in every experience we need to become who we want to be. Mm. So when somebody goes to him with a serious health issue, he actually he congratulates them. I don't do that.
I can relate to that. I really believe that these challenges are, if we want them to be, gateways to the truth of who we are, if you care.
But not a lot of people are at that level.
Right.
So it's almost like, well, you're blaming me for this. But it's like, not at all.
Yeah.
But can you see how this might lead you to becoming a better person? How it might lead you to pulling your family together that's been torn apart for this many years, so it helps you with your reframe, I think. And then being in the parasympathetic nervous system is where, again, all healing can take place in the body. Most of us live our lives in our sympathetic, and they're both parts of the autonomic nervous system. So what all of this equipment is designed to do is to help you calm it down, slow it down, and be in harmonic resonance. We have 7.5 minutes of Schumann resonance that we play that puts you in alignment with the Earth's hertz, which is 7.83. And that's a frequency bath. And all you're doing is lying down, your work is done, and you're listening to these chords just kind of help you go down into that pristine place. That's why a lot of my clients have said, I felt like I went back to the womb.
And and I didn't go back to the womb, but what I did see was the moment that I was born, I witnessed my parents and their love for me, and that really pure, unified love, which was huge for me because there's been war in my family for 40 plus years. And so that has kind of felt like it's run through me. And that was the first time I ever saw as an adult their love for each other and their shared love for me. Wow. And I remember I just had tears streaming down my face. It was this, I'm telling you, basically get in the car, take a road trip, come up here
and experience
this. This is not to be taken lightly. It's not something, although I frequently am like, when will Veronica put me back on the bed? But the one session has truly changed my life. Like, there has been a shift and a step towards stabilization that those of you who know me know is I've been really struggling with for years, so now it feels like the first time I'm seeing land that's starting to show up in my external environment, because I'm understanding, like, oh, this is resonance, and I'm looking around me, oh, this is resonance, like the air's just right, the light's just right,
and you're calling it in.
Right.
As opposed to trying to fight for it.
Right.
Or trying to make it happen.
Or trying to be good enough for it, or trying to control my thoughts to make it happen.
Right. So, this is a combination of neuroscience and quantum science. Because, quantum science, you've probably all heard about the vibrating strings being the lowest that we've discovered, but that's not true. Beneath the vibrating strings is automata.
Alrighty.
And automata is the smallest, most indivisible particle of manifestation.
Wow.
So the binaural phasing starts shifting your brain automata because your brain wants to create whole brain synchrony between who you are now and who you are saying you want to be. And part of you is already there. That's why I say we are finding and enhancing what's right with you instead of trying to focus and fix what's wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. It's there for a reason for you to develop into your highest self.
And I love the whole harmonic resonant thing. We actually didn't even talk about that, but that's my thing, is like, okay, radiant health looks like to me being a harmonically resonant vessel for the light and intelligence of my soul to navigate through. Like, that's where I'm headed.
Beautifully put, yes.
And that's, where Dr. Beth and I really meet, because she knows how to get there, clearly. And now she's brought you, which I feel like this is such a huge tool. But it's that when we say that, the harmonic resonance, it's very much like, I have a lot of musician friends, and one of my friends said, it's like you found the right string, and it is like that.
Yes.
Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with an instrument. It can be played harmonically and elegantly, and it can also sound really horrible. Instrument is the same.
Yes.
It's about the tuning.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The tuning and the understanding how to play it, like how to fly from the inside. Right?
Yes.
So
there's the instrument, and then there's the player.
Right.
And the player needs to learn how to tune and play the instrument.
That's right.
And
Ooh,
that's
chills.
I know, right? And that's why, well, part of it is a little chilly.
Yep.
But that's what all of this equipment, all of the light, all of the sound, all of the vibration is designed to help us do.
Right. And in terms of trauma healing, I think those of you who have been following me know that I've done quite a bit of trauma recovery and healing in my life. And what was really fascinating about this session was that I was taken in my consciousness into spaces and places of memories of trauma, but it wasn't frightening. I actually was there with this full awareness of my harmonic resonance, like integrating that part of myself, and it was happening like boom, boom, boom. Oh, there's another piece. You are the light and you are love. There's another piece. You are the light. And it all started with, the remembrance of the love from which I came.
Yes.
Which for some people it's revisiting the womb. For me it was revisiting the moment right when I was born.
Well, for other people, they leave their bodies and they travel the universe.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I was on it, I had a variety of experiences. The first one was, I'm a being of sound and light.
Wow.
And then I went, oh, well, Veronica's having some drama down here, but I'm a being of sound and light. Right? And then both sets of my deceased grandparents were visiting me and validating all of my life's choices. And that's not the way that I was raised. So it was incredibly loving and validating for me to hear that from them. And then I was hanging out in a star system that I knew I'd come from. And floating in space, I could breathe and I was supported. And I've probably heard that more from most of my clients over the years than any other thing. But I've also heard one of my best friends says, the dolphins come and take me down to Atlantis.
Oh.
But everybody can breathe underwater in this,
Mm-hmm.
Wherever they're going. Everybody can be in whatever element they're in, and they're fine. One of my clients said she was in the body of a horse, and that thrilled her because she's worked with horses her entire life. And she knew she had been given an important task, and then she realized she was yoked to other horses, and she couldn't figure out what they were doing, but she knew it was something very important. And she finally turned around and saw that they were pulling the sun across the sky.
Oh, wow.
So I've heard a lot.
Right, and I heard from someone who had recently lost their father that she was traveled to where he had gone and was able to communicate and feel connection with him again for the first time. So I think like for some people it might just be like, oh whoa, you just lost me there, star seed galaxy. But I think the point is you're gonna have the experience that's harmonically resonant with the truth of who you are.
Exactly.
And it's about our relationship with information and the information fields that we live in here physically, and also with the fact and the truth that we are actually not our bodies. And so those sorts of experiences are like you're having an experience of your soul, an experience of your knowing and of your spirit beyond what your body knows physically here in the 3D reality. And I can tell you that that has been part of my journey, is to really understand that I'm not my body, as I've had so much pain. And even as I'm sitting here right now, incredibly nauseous, but at the same, because of treatments I'm having making me nauseous, but because I understand I'm not the body, can put a little like warmer on my belly for the moments and still really enjoy this conversation and experience joy at the same time, even though my body's going through something. So I think there's a lot of value in understanding that we're multidimensional.
Yeah.
And of being able to access and integrate our various dimensions of experience, and which has to do with our relationship with frequency, light, sound, intelligence, information. Very similar to how we see machines and computers sort of networked and programmed and that sort of stuff. So thank you for sticking with us on the juicy part, because I'm sure you can tell this is all we really want to talk about. we have like a whole, we could do, I was going to say we could do 1 hour podcast, and I thought, no, we could probably just create a podcast completely around this subject.
Yes, time after time, because you can just go as deep as you want to with it. We didn't even discuss brain states really.
Or
the subconscious.
Right. Right. And that's part of what's happening when you're in relationship, when you're sort of communicating to the brain autonoma, then you're affecting your brain state, which theta state is one of the brainwave states, which then affects your experience of everything.
And the light pattern glasses are designed to take you into theta state.
Right.
And theta state is the hypnotic state, and this is Bruce Lipton's work now, when from our 3rd trimester up until we're about 7 years old, we're in theta state. Our job when we get to the planet is to watch and learn. And those messages that we got from our parents or society or a sibling they tend to run 95% of our lives for the rest of our lives, unless and until, if they were negative, we understand this is where I need to make the change. I need to go back, and that's why I refer to new thought patterns a lot. So we want to shift the negative programming that came in those first 7 years of life into and be more in control with, no, this is how I want to experience life.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and so theta state, so there's delta. Now they've discovered subdelta, right? But there's delta, which is the sleep state. Theta is that place where you're just starting to wake up in the morning, and it's that sweet spot, and you just kind of want to hang on to it. I have an insight timer, and that's when I meditate, before I even move around very much, right?
Right, because the brain's primed.
Yes. And then you're kind of coming up into alpha. You go to the bathroom mirror, you know, you're starting to get ready for your day, but you're still at home and you're pretty relaxed. And then beta is the state where you pretty much run your day in, and that's where you can do your job, and that's where you can function in the world. And then at night, you come home from beta, you kind of go back into alpha, you're having dinner, you're kicking it, you know, watching TV or whatever it is you do in the evenings, alpha, and then you go back into theta right before you go back to sleep.
Well, this is why it's rituals, sleep preparation rituals are so important, because in a healthy brain it is cycling like that. And then some people get stuck in fight or flight, the brain gets stuck more in a beta state, can't sleep, you're not waking up rested, starts affecting your health, you know, so something like this is also incredible for regulating healthy brain cycles.
Well, that's why I recommend that people return, because you want to, we all know because of Peter Levine's work and Bessel van der Kolk how important the body is in helping us release any trauma. But the vibrosound is teaching you what it feels like to be in parasympathetic nervous system. So after I was traumatized, I was on this thing twice a week at one point, and I knew that I needed to keep that until my body was able to start relaxing and I could calm my mind down then again on my own. So, sorry.
Right, which is a huge thing.
Yes.
Which, you know, brings us all back to, well, where's our true power and what is mastery? It's not through the efforting, but it is through learning how to become the player of your own vessel.
Yes.
How to attune and then fly, basically, from the inside. So,
because we didn't get instructions.
No, we didn't.
And we didn't come with a booklet.
I know.
Our parents were our instructions, whether they were more conscious of it or whether they were just kind of going through life unconsciously. And bless them, they got us back to the planet. And their job was pretty much done. I think then our own karma might have taken over, whether we had an extremely wonderful, uplifting upbringing, or, you know, we had the other kind. But
the angelic Jedi training.
Yes.
Angelic Jedi training. So, okay, well, I think there's going to be more. But thank you so much for diving into all of this, and I highly recommend coming and visiting Veronica, whether it's one time or multiple times. This will take you into a deeper experience of understanding what it means to be human, gaining access and connection to the mastery that you're born to live.
Beautiful. Beautifully put. Thank you, Heather.
More soon.